Judd Apatow's latest film of a loser guy trying to become less of a loser.
So all Judd Apatow movies.
Yep.
All right, there
You
we
could
go.
probably come up with something funnier than that. Sorry.
I mean, all I had was like, this movie made me insecure, but it's like, you're 24 and you still live at home, and I'm like, I'm 26.
I mean, I didn't move out until I was 25. I don't feel
I'm
bad. Yeah.
I'm older than both of you, and I'm
Yeah.
living at home.
Sorry.
Are we keeping this part of the video, or?
I mean, fuck.
That's
I
your call.
mean, we've already gone this far. I mean, we're still, the red light's still on my end. So, whatever Ron or edits out,
like I edit this stuff. This is like takes me 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say whatever you edit in and out, that's your business. I don't know why I thought. Okay.
Like, I'm not paying.
I remember you were talking about how Ron edits the editorial, so for some reason I derived from that he edits everything for you.
I do not have that kind of budget.
Fair. Very fair.
So yeah, we're here to talk about The King of Staten Island. This movie came out back in June, but recently got a Blu-ray release. Or at least that's what I'm guessing, just because I saw us at Target recently and goes, oh, that's on new release. I didn't think we've seen that one. So
Yeah, when I searched for it on Amazon, it said that it was available on Blu-ray. I just rented it for $5.99.
Yeah, I had to rent it too.
I'm just gonna say my general thoughts on this one. You guys kind of bounce off of that.
Go ahead.
At its best, there is a lot of heartfelt conversations, good writing, good character development, and a good cohesive narrative. So why the fuck did it take 1 hour and 30 goddamn minutes to get there?
I was just talking to my sister about it because, what was it? Because I know my sister wanted to see it, so I was like, my family, we're watching movies together, so I was like, hey, I got to review this movie with Michael. You want to rent? Can we rent this and just make it a family movie night? And then in like the first 15 minutes, it's like him butt fucking his girlfriend. I'm like, okay, I'm
family night.
Yep. This one's
Things
on me.
not to watch with your parents.
Yep. I mean, it got better after that, but there was.
It's a lot of self-indulgent Judd Apatow schlock through a lot of this movie.
Yeah.
Were they butt fucking or were they just doing doggy style? I couldn't tell.
It's a coin toss. It could be either or. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Really
I mean.
Apparently, he just got the right spot. That's the only real context we have. Whatever position it was in, this fit in.
I do like Judd Apatow. He produced The Big Sick, and I love that movie. I actually like Knocked Up. I like his Netflix series Love. Even though Gus is kind of an unlikable character at times, much like the characters in this movie. But Judd Apatow does make movies that, like you said, can be very heartwarming, which I appreciate.
Oh yeah.
I think I've never been a huge Judd Apatow fan. Like, I was never into like the 40-Year-Old Virgin or Knocked Up or any of those movies where, to me, it always felt like, oh, it's the same formula every time, where it's always about like a 40-something man-child who is a loser and does lots of drugs, and a lot of the comedy just comes to them saying fuck at each other.
Yeah.
Although Steve Carell's character in 40-Year-Old Virgin didn't do lots of drugs. But
he still had friends that did. That's where a lot of the comedy comes from. Knocked Up did the exact same thing, except it was replaced Seth Rogen with Steve Carell. Trainwreck was fine, but that was kind of more just a generic rom-com, like nothing too special about it. Now it just feels.
I was entertained by it.
I mean, it was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It existed. I didn't see Love the series, so I can't speak for that. I don't want to give him too much credit for The Big Sick because I don't know how much producer really does. So much is paid for it.
The producer pretty much just kind of handles like a lot of the business end of movie making, like stuff like that.
And this one kind of feels like he's doing the same shtick with Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin by way of Train Spotting. And like there are good parts about this, but
I really liked the kids in this.
the kids
this
were
movie.
good.
Oh my god, the kids were precious.
Like
Yes.
I didn't. Let me clear. I
was
didn't
like,
hate this movie. But I was very annoyed by a lot of the self-indulgent aspects of it.
Yeah.
And those self-indulgent aspects go on for a while. Like there's, like there.
I was annoyed by. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay.
I was annoyed by various scenes with the main character, even though during those scenes I kind of empathized with where he was coming from, because some of those things he was going through hit a little close to home from when I was younger.
Mhm.
and had trouble adjusting to change with my parents and those sorts of things. So he's not always the most likable protagonist in this. He can be extremely annoying and overly involved and unempathetic.
See, that's where we kind of differ on this, and I think it's going to define how much you like this movie, because I couldn't stand him for an hour and a half of this movie. I fucking hated him. He just obnoxious, entitled, whiny. And I'm not saying I don't see where he's coming from, but he is such an unlikable person, and to everyone. And I get that's the point. I get that it's a redemption arc. I get that. But an hour and a half is a long ask to put up with somebody who is this insufferably unlikable.
Yeah.
And it's like
it was a better movie than The Tax Collector.
That's not a high bar, Sarah. But it like I mean that one was just incompetently made. Like I think it's part of makes this movie more frustrating. It is competently made, but it's just so in love with its own man-childishness that dwells on it for way longer than it should. You could have the half hour of this 2.5-hour movie.
Honestly, like there was a point where I was pretty certain, like I'm like, it doesn't really feel like there's much of a plot. Like, you know, it's just kind of very slice of life through most of it. And it's like there were multiple points during the movie where I think I've said this in other reviews of other movies, but where it's like, okay, this is the climax. Okay, this is the climax. All right, now this has to be the climax for sure.
Was I the only one who noticed that Marissa Tomei is apparently getting typecast as a sexy widow now?
I mean, I just kind of took it as the movie where Aunt May fucked Bill Burr, so.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to talk about Bill Burr.
Okay. By the way, for those who don't know what this movie is, I feel like I should go over that very, very briefly. Apparently, I did some research on this. This is a autobiographical movie about Pete Davidson, who is the star of the movie.
And he helped write the screenplay.
Yeah, he helped write the screenplay, and I guess it's like kind of loosely based on his real life experience, what eventually led him to stand up, which is, and I don't want to shit on that too harshly. That being said, I would have enjoyed that story a bit more.
Which one?
The one where he actually how did this lead to him doing stand up? I felt like that would be really more.
That actually, I'd watch the shit out of that. Hell yeah,
like that would be really like, where did all of this lead to comedy? That is a transition I would love to know about.
Yeah.
Probably the awkwardness of transitioning into more adult behaviors.
Well, I would have liked to have seen that. That's kind of my point. But that being said, like I know like he really loses his dad, and I know it has repercussions. And the way the movie, I liked this movie more when it delved into that towards the last third of the movie.
Yes.
Which was
that I agree with.
Oh yeah.
The best part of the movie.
That was the best part.
Is that last 45 minutes. If you can't tell, I was keeping track of the time. But again, like it takes that's like the first major part of like his redemption arc through the movie. So again, I just feel like there's a lot of just unnecessary sloggy scenes. Like there's a lot of scenes with him and his friends who do a lot of drugs and do the Judd Apatow like shtick, where they just do drugs and make jokes at each other, and that goes on for like 20-minute segments.
Although in this one, his his friends get a real life consequence of their poor decisions and choices.
Yeah, that still doesn't change the fact that I don't watch them like just talk shit at each other for 20 minutes at a time. For characters that ultimately went kind of nowhere.
I did find
they went to jail.
they did go to jail, and we see one of the we see the white friends in jail, but we don't see the black friend in jail, which I think is mildly problematic.
I was kind of like iffy about that too.
But then he's just kind of gone for the rest of the movie. Like they don't.
Yeah, they never really go back to that.
That's
like, that was kind of one of my issues. Is that there's a lot of stuff where they like make a huge deal of stuff like it's gonna lead up to something, but it didn't really go anywhere. Like the restaurant job. There's just kind of a point, like after one of the climaxes I was talking about. There was just kind of a point where I totally forgot that like he had a job at a restaurant. It just never came up again, or like that crazy Fight Club shit going on, where it's like, that felt like its own movie. Like Jesus.
He pretty much swapped the firehouse the restaurant for the firehouse, and then there was no fallout for what happened to the restaurant job that your relatives set you up with.
Yeah, and
well, maybe they shouldn't have had fucking Fight Club in the restaurant. I'd quit day one if that was where I was working.
I know.
That's kind of a hostile work environment.
Yeah, exactly. I feel
like it's illegal.
I'd be calling the cops on that motherfucker. Just be like, I don't care if he's my uncle. It's just like, you can't make employees do that. Jesus.
So like that's like one of like numerous sequences. Like you could have cut a lot of this. I didn't find a lot. Granted, humor is subjective, so it didn't really hit my style of humor. So I didn't really find it necessarily entertaining. And for me, it's like, okay, this I see what you're going for here, but this is a 2.5 hour fucking movie. Do you really need to spend a lot of time on this?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't find it funny as other Apatow directed films.
I think I like Trainwreck better.
I haven't seen many Judd Apatow films, so I have no frame of comparison on this. But you guys keep talking. Sorry.
Fair enough. It's okay. I thought Trainwreck was funnier. This movie, and I don't hate Pete Davidson, my imagination. I always just kind of know as that guy that hangs around John Mulaney. But he gets a few laughs out of me, and apparently he's charming enough to convince Ariana DeGrande to date him for a while.
They got married briefly.
Very briefly.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, good for him. But at the it sounds like it has an interesting story to tell. I just don't feel like this was the best way to do it. I felt like it kind of lacked focus. It just kind of meandered, kind of like what you're saying, Matt.
Yeah.
But there's still heart there, and a lot of it comes out in the last 45 minutes. And by the way, briefly going over
like that. He told his. Sorry.
Hold on for 1 second. I'm gonna cut you off there for a second, so I can briefly give the plot of this really quick.
We have to get to that eventually.
Yeah, I realize we're kind of jumping around without actually going into that. So basically, it's about they don't actually call him Pete Davidson in this movie. He goes by Scott Carlin in this movie. He's basically a 24-year-old heavy drug user who still lives at home. His father died as a fireman. He's very hostile to everyone he meets. He's kind of a deadbeat, nothing going on. And he just kind of hangs out with his druggy friends in this random basement of somewhere.
And he's a wannabe untrained tattoo artist.
Yes. So eventually he tries to tattoo a kid they run into at the beach, which that was fucking uncomfortable to watch.
Yes, it was.
And I was having flashbacks to my own childhood well, not getting tattoos at the beach, but what was it? I was babysat by my aunt because both my parents worked, and so I would spend a lot of time with my older cousins, and they had their friends over, so it was oh man, I'm hanging out with the adult crowd. But even though they kicked me out a lot, but still,
I get it. I get that. Mm-hmm. But when that happens, he writes him out to his dad, who's Bill Barr, who comes storming in I'm just gonna call her Aunt May. Marissa Tomei, who plays Scott's
Margie.
Dad. What was that?
I think her name is Margie.
Margie, sure. Who plays Aunt May.
Aunt May, but she's a nurse now.
Aunt May, but nurse, and she runs. And Bill Barr angrily comes at her and says, like, "Hey, look what your son did to my son," kind of a thing. And the son, by the way, is like 9 years old, for reference.
Yeah.
Which, like, yeah, obviously not a good thing.
Great child actor.
Yeah, he's pretty good. And then eventually that kind of, in a weird way, sparks a romance between the two, and they start dating. And then Scott hates it and wants to kick him out. And then an hour and a half later, something actually happens. And then he ends up, and then she basically dumps both of them. And then having nowhere else to go, Scott goes by the firehouse, and that's where things actually get pretty interesting.
Yes.
And like, honestly, like, if you just took, if you shaved off like half of like the first half of this movie and just transitioned to this the firehouse scene sooner, this would have been a pretty well-rounded movie.
Yeah.
So most of my complaints really do boil down to the length and its own like self-indulgence.
Yeah.
Which I'm getting the vibe that you like this movie more than I did, Sarah, and I'm sorry if I feel like I'm shitting all over you on this one.
Well, this isn't a movie that I'm going to add to my collection or watch a bunch more, but there were elements in it that I did like, and I did find it heartwarming overall.
Okay.
So like, if I were to give this a grade, I'd probably give C+, maybe B-. But is this a masterpiece? No. Is this one of the better new movies that I've seen this year thus far? Granted, I haven't seen many. So, yes.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Fair enough. So let's talk what's actually good about the movie, because there are good things to it. Most of them in the last 45 minutes of the movie. First of all, for what it is worth, as much as I did not like his character, it is not Pete Davidson's fault. It is the writing. He does do a great job with the material he has. It's clear it's a personal story to him, and he sells it well. So all the props to Pete Davidson in the world. Like I said, so I'm not going to disregard any of that. What actually happens is when
really good performances, just kind of in general. Like,
yes.
I wasn't really put out by anybody.
That's true. Everyone had done a pretty good commentary.
The only parts I hated as far as performance go is, like you said, it's mostly a writing thing.
Yeah.
Where, like, I hated the outbursts. Like, the angry outbursts, there were times where they felt a little unprompted as far as, like, the energy that he put into them. Like, it's like there's some of the parts where he goes into, like, this huge angry outburst, and it's like, I can understand a character being upset with news like that, but, like, the amount of yelling was like, it was like pushing it a little too far for me.
He had very big reactions to, at inappropriate moments.
Yep, that was kind of my issue. And I was talking to my sister about it, and she was all like, well, they were also, the character was also like kind of, he had mental illnesses, like he had ADHD and stuff like that. And it's like, I know people with ADHD, and I've never seen any of them like have an outburst like that.
And I know people with ADHD too, and they're hyper and energetic, and at times unfocused, or focused on one thing and then focused on another thing shortly thereafter. But just because you have ADHD doesn't automatically make you a dick.
Yeah. I would say when this movie kind of started to win me over was when they had like the extended conversation with I forget the character's name, Pamela Adlon.
Oh,
Kelsey?
yeah.
The girlfriend?
Yeah, she was
not the girlfriend.
She was Bill Burr's ex-wife.
Oh, yeah.
That was the first time I think I like genuinely laughed. Was during that scene, right? Because like Pamela Adlon is a very, very funny actress. Who
was it the one where he was picking up her kids for the first time?
Well, there was that, but the part where she's kind of having like getting high and getting drunk, and she's just talking.
Having mom time.
Yep, mom time.
And just talking shit about Bill Burr, and when I was like, the part was like I try not to talk shit about him in front of my kids, but it's hard because he's such a cunt. And it was like,
yes.
That was first like, All right, movie, you're winning me over. Let's see where you're going with this.
I also really liked that scene. I liked how she spoke so positively about her children, who are definitely, at least for me, a highlight of this movie. I liked the main character's interaction with Ray. Ray's kids, Bill Burr's character.
I just like seeing Pamela Adlon in things. Like,
just in general, she's wonderful.
Like, she's not in nearly enough movies for my taste. Like, she was on Louis for a long time, and then like she's basically just like stuck in like cartoons since then, which is sad.
I mean, even before then, she got her.
Oh, was that?
Did she voice Aura Anderson on Life with Louis? Or
no, Louis, as in the Louis C.K. show.
Yeah, that one.
Sorry.
The person we don't talk about anymore.
Yeah, yes. We're demonetized now. I hope you're happy, Michael.
I mean, it's like we're getting paid for this anyway.
Fair. What was it? I think like her best known role is as Bobby Hill on King of the Hill. Like she voices Bobby.
She's done a lot of TV shows. Like she's done like The Big Bang Theory or Star versus the Forces of Evil, Costume Quest, Rick and Morty.
Really?
Yeah, she's done mostly TV shows, but I want to see her because she's fucking hilarious. And apparently, I find her a lot more funny than Pete Anderson, not Pete Davidson.
I mean, yeah, to be like, that was another thing I want to mention. Pete Davidson, like, I know Pete Davidson from Saturday Night Live, and like Pete Davidson, like in general, he's usually kind of hit and miss for me, but I feel like he did a good job in this movie. But like,
I like it when he's with John Mulaney. I think they work well together.
Oh yeah. John Mulaney works well with everyone. He's an agreeable motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
John Mulaney is one of my favorite stand-up comedians.
He is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love John Mulaney.
Me too.
I will. I cannot say the same for Bill Burr, but I have more conflicted feelings about Bill Burr.
Yeah, Bill Burr is like... It's like I like him more as an actor than I do as a comedian. Like, yeah. Like, what was
I
it?
know that I've heard his name before. What he wasn't the guy who directed 8th Grade, was he?
No.
No, that was Bo Burnham.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Different comedian with
I love Bo Burnham.
alliteration name.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Burr was in Breaking Bad. Towards the final scenes. Yeah, he was one of Saul's Saul's goons.
Oh damn! I know he was in an episode of The Mandalorian. He was he was that bounty hunter with the third gun, and what was it? What I know him most from is his Netflix show F is for Family, like which is a good show, but it's also like really fucked up.
That's what I've heard. I haven't watched it yet.
Bill Burr is one of those. If you don't laugh at my jokes, it's cancel culture kind of comedians, and I fucking hate
he's kind of a dick.
Which I mean,
well, he obviously got typecast because he kind of plays a dick.
Oh, absolutely! Like when
in this movie,
his first appearance, he's like yelling and screaming, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is Bill Burr.
No, that's in Bill's
like he has very recognizable rants.
Like being an asshole has been Bill Burr's shtick for a long time.
Oh, absolutely!
Like pretty much since the basics, like his career started. That being said, like over the years, he's definitely gotten more entitled, in my opinion, which has kind of soured my feelings towards him. And I mean, that being said, I do appreciate that he told Joe Rogan to shut the fuck up when he was trying to get him to talk about knowing more than doctors about COVID. So I was like, all right, you got a few points back.
Oh yeah.
But he's a good actor. Like I'll give him. He's a good actor. He just does well, but here. So despite my bias and the fact that it's Bill fucking Burr.
It was it was the weird moment for me when after his first scene where he's like going ape shit because Pete Davidson tattooed his 9-year-old son, which is like I understand.
That's a justifiable reason to be upset.
Yes.
And honestly, like I wasn't even bothered how pissed off Bill Burr was because it's like it's like yeah. But what was weird about it is like. What was it? When he came back, like the next time we see him, he goes back to the house and he's like, hey, I'm really sorry about, yelling at you. You didn't deserve that. I was mad at your son. And I'm sorry to hear about your husband. And I was like, okay, I'm actually kind of uncomfortable with Bill Burr being like calm and reasonable adult. Like, what the fuck is happening?
Well, he was just turning on the charm to ask out Marissa Tomei's character. He was just trying to butter her up.
Yeah.
So, I hear your son is Spider-Man. Oh, sorry, your nephew.
Her nephew is Spider-Man.
Sorry. Adoptive son, technically. Jake Gyllenhaal told me.
Oh, God.
Anyway,
Yeah.
comes in, gets pictures. Haha. Anyway, I got pictures of Spider-Man. Sorry.
Well, I mean, for him, it would be like, I got pictures of Spider-Man!
Now
Because he yells everything.
But yeah, so like oddly enough, once Pamela Adlon comes on, the movie does transition more to its actual point.
Stuff actually happens.
Yeah, like, stuff actually happens. Like you have the all is lost moment where where they have a conversation. Him and Bill Burr fight for a little bit, and then Marissa Tomei just goes, "I'm done with both of you," and she tells them both to leave. At which point, after a few failed attempts to hook up with other people, Pete Davidson hauls his ass out of the firehouse like one little puppy dog and convinces everyone to let him stay here, including Steve Buscemi, who, God bless the man, again is not nearly enough things.
Seriously.
Yes.
Especially,
I mean, like sometimes I feel like he is in everything, but at the same time, it's like, but I love
lately.
it.
I think the last thing I saw him in before this was Death of Stalin.
Oh,
yeah,
that's another fun movie.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like that movie.
I think the only reason he even did this one is because he got to play a firefighter.
Yeah, he's an actual real life firefighter.
Yeah,
I was
he helped
just being told this. Yeah.
And I guess I think I could be wrong about this, so someone fact check me.
Okay.
I think Pete Davidson, his father died during 9/11.
Yeah, he was one of the responders in 9/11.
Yeah.
That would explain why his picture is shown in the beginning of the closing credits.
Yeah.
Oh. And, it's kind of another reason why I'm a little glad that this is going to sound really shitty.
They don't show 9/11.
Yeah, they don't show 9/11 because I feel like that would take a lot away from the movie.
Yeah, it suddenly becomes a movie about 9/11 and not what it is, what the movie is. So, yeah, no.
Yeah, it's like they put enough in from Pete Davidson's personal experiences that it felt like very, that it felt real, but it wasn't like distracting.
Yes.
Which is good.
Yeah, and that's the point where the movie kind of actually comes together, and all the firemen are telling stories about his dad and what I hear and how he was a hero and how he was also kind of fucked up, and you kind of empathizes the experiences he's been told and what he knows about him, and recontextualizes his entire life basically. It's like, okay, good. That was good. That was really, really good. And again, it makes me frustrated. It's like, why did it take so fucking long to get to the meat of this? And that's really the most frustrating part of it, because I'm watching. It's like, this is so good. This is why did it take? I don't understand. This is the good part. You clearly knew it was the good part.
Honestly, I think if they dropped, like you were saying, how they needed to trim stuff off. I think if they trimmed the stoner friends, maybe after the beach scene, honestly, that probably would have shaved off a bunch of time.
Honestly, you probably could just cut out the actual crime scene bit altogether.
Yeah, I didn't like the crime scene. The only thing that really illustrated what was his ADHD in effect.
And even then, it's none of it's even his fault. He's just the fucking lookout. What's he supposed to do? Look out for the inside of the pharmacy?
Yeah.
They're trying to make him feel bad. It's like, what the fuck did he even do? He just sat outside in the car.
And even then, they'd say they try to blame him later. It's like, you're the lookout that didn't look out. It's like, motherfucker, he kept calling you.
Yeah.
He was looking out. You just
Also, this is. Oh, sorry, you were saying.
Some of his friends' ringtones were entertaining.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to talk about, because it's like they did have funny ringtones, but also, what kind of fucking thief leaves their ringtone on while they're robbing a store?
Seriously.
I'm gonna go
put it on silent
on these guys. That's like a, what was it? You're acting like a first. What's he say in Reservoir Dogs, where he's like, what was it? You're acting like a first grade thief or something like that, or something like that.
First year thief, I think. First year fucking thief, I remember.
Or something like that.
Something like that.
I don't know. Now I gotta watch that movie again.
Good movie. And it's only an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm. They got to the business right away. You know, they don't fuck around with all this.
And
all
if
this
you
other
want to
stuff.
talk about the king of self-indulgence, talk about Tarantino.
I like Tarantino.
I love Tarantino, but he's self-indulgent as fuck.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
That's not necessarily a bad thing, because like he
He's-
can actually make it entertaining even during those overly indulgent scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But you can like his work and still acknowledge that he's incredibly overindulgent.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Like he's on a list of celebrities that I don't want to meet.
I get that.
Like it's like I love his work, but I don't want to ever meet him in real life.
Because like I mean, I loved what was it? What's the most recent one?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I did not need that many feet shots.
He does.
He can have a private collection all he wants. I don't need like a
No, it's not
massive
fucking
fucking
private anymore. It's like y'all gotta see these sexy ass feet. Just like straight up.
Too. Like my god.
Can I list a few things that I liked about this movie?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
So I liked his chemistry with the kid actors. I liked their scenes together. I liked those kid actors' performances. I want to see them in more stuff. I liked kind of his reconciliation moment with his girlfriend at the very end when he finally talks real to her about and how he tells his girlfriend Kelsey, I really love you a lot. I just don't know how to act around you. So I appreciated that moment of genuine communication from him. I liked it when Ray kind of let his guard down and really tried to connect with Scott. And
Ray being Bill Barr's character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I liked the last conversation between Scott and Margie, Marissa Tomei's character, when they talk about, yeah, Dad was great, but he was also complicated, and they just kind of meet in the middle on how they each want each other to be happy, and he acknowledges that he's going to step up and be more adult even though it's hard. And I really liked this line, it's always going to be hard, because that was probably a line written from the most experience in this script, because anybody with who has had a difficult childhood from a loss of a parent or learning differences at some point does have to acknowledge that it's always going to be more difficult for them than for people who haven't had those types of experiences early on. So those were the main things that I really liked about this movie. It does have great bits and pieces and qualities to it. It's not all overindulgent schlock.
I'm not saying like don't misunderstand me. Like I said, the parts that you're saying are good. They are really good. I'm agreeing with you. But again, that all comes in the last 45 minutes.
Yes.
For the rest of the hour and a half is just repeating the same bit that reveals the same part of the character's identity we already know about.
Mm-hmm.
And it does that over and over and over again. That's kind of what I'm saying by like overindulgence. Like one scene with the stoner friends reveals the same exact thing as every other scene with the stoner friends, that he's a stoner fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really have anything new or nuanced about it. It's just the same beat repeated over and over and over again.
Yeah, I agree. They probably could have cut one or two of those scenes out easily.
There, like every argument I have with his sister does kind of serves the same purpose, which is to reveal he is a self-destructive, kind of guilty narcissist.
Now I'm realizing he never makes up with his sister.
And the
That's
sister
kind of
No.
messed up.
disappears after the last argument.
Yeah, she just kind of vanishes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like the
that's-
restaurant.
Exactly. That's another dangling plot point that.
Thread.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even sure what the point of the restaurant stuff was, other than he hates the job, which again kind of just reinforces the other beats that have already been established. At least it adds something, so I can see that, but not enough that justifies the amount of screen time it has for how little it actually pays off anything.
Yeah.
But like again, everything that lasts 45 minutes, it has setup, it pays off threads that have been established earlier in the movie. It expands the characters, it gives them genuine attempts to connect. It actually follows through on the arc, and it actually has like proper resolution for these characters. All that stuff is very, very good. I just wish it happened sooner.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So like, really, I'm saying, like, this is not an awful movie. I'm not even saying this is a bad movie.
Yeah.
Like,
It could have been better.
It, like,
I agree with Sarah's grade. Like C+, B-, feels right.
I'm more in the just solid C minus kind of range, but like,
Yeah, C+. I'm leaning towards C+.
Mostly because I'm not a big Judd Apatow fan. I'm never really a big fan of his style, so I think that definitely there's a bit of bias there. I will acknowledge it's just the style of film and comedy that just hasn't really worked for me in the past, and still really doesn't work for me now. It's not my style of humor. I know a lot of people will connect to this more. Like the bits that are good are really good. I just wish it was more consistent with it.
That's fair. Very fair. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really what I'm trying to say. We're like, but I know I've been spending the last 30 or so minutes just shitting all over this thing.
Just a little.
But I do want to emphasize that the parts that are good are really good. For me, it's just frustrating. I'm just peeing myself now, but that's really how I walked away feeling with this. Just frustrated that it wasn't better or tighter or more than the sum of its parts. So I think that's kind of my final word on the movie. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add?
I spent a fair portion of the movie trying to figure out if Bill Burr's mustache was even or not. It was kind of driving me nuts.
Yeah, it is hard to do that. Like
it is.
Like,
my mustache
is here for a while, and it's after like 3 months of starting to finding to connect a little weird gap there. You've already got that, you motherfucker.
It took forever to get my mustache this long.
Yeah,
like,
hard,
and even then, it's like it's technically not even. Like, this side is a little longer than this side. That was kind of my issue with Bill Burr's mustache, was that, he had like a Hollywood mustache. That's a mustache that was worked on by fucking professionals. And I couldn't figure out if it was even or not, or if it was uneven, if they were doing it on purpose. It's like just really nitpicking shit that I
found it distracting because I've never seen a mustache like that in real life.
You've met Wes, right?
Yeah, met Wes.
Yes, of course, but
Wes had like a whole look with his mustache. He had
but
he had that shit gelled up and everything.
He had a goatee with it. It just wasn't this big red drooping hairy worm under his nose.
But you knew he could do it.
Oh,
yes.
Now you know.
That's more the general point here. We love you, Wes. Gotta get you back on the show soon.
Seriously, Wes.
Yes, please.
Wes, we miss you.
Very much.
But yeah, so I guess we could kind of move on to final thoughts.
I'd say if you're a Judd Apatow fan, I wouldn't put this at one of his best, but it's worth a watch. It's a heartwarming film with some very redeeming qualities.
Matt?
I liked this movie. I enjoyed it very much. I don't know if I'm ready to love at the moment, though. Like, it's still in quarantine. There's a lot of shit up in the air, but, I enjoy it.
Okay.
That was a joke. But I do genuinely like it. I don't love it, but I like it.
Where else is depressed, Matt?
Yeah, we don't need to get into that. This is going on YouTube. Anyhow.
And it's gonna be weird rewatching all these like a year from now when hopefully we're hopefully not still doing this way.
I was gonna say like, oh god, if I'm still in this house next year. But yeah.
It's like remember we had to do like this through Zoom for a long time. Anyway, anywho, so yeah, I would say like I think I've made my point clear enough. I think when it got really good, it was really really good. I think it was just a lot of wasted potential for the for the parts that came before. For me, the full 2/3 did not justify the 1/3 really good part of it. At least not to the point where I was fully willing to say I highly recommend this movie. So it's more like I would appreciate this on like edit this down to an hour and a half.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it being shorter.
Yeah. So I think that's the final word on that. Still quite a few movies on my current list to catch up on. We have Yes, God, Yes, Feels Good, Man. I'm thinking of Ending Things, which is a new Charlie Kaufman movie.
It sounds like 3 different pornos, but please carry on.
I was going to say, you could probably connect all those titles in a very inappropriate way.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
that's exactly what I did.
Well, Yes, God, Yes is actually about sexuality in a Christian camp, so that one kind of falls into it.
And one time at God camp,
I thought you were going to jump into a story there.
No, I was trying to make a joke.
And I was just like, I don't know if I want to hear this.
See, Matt got my joke.
I just think this whole thing is fucking hilarious. It's like I got the joke and then I just loved everything that happened after.
I think if my sister started off with that sentence, I'd be like, whoa, I don't know where this is going, but hold up. So even before you start, I'm going to leave the room, then you can continue. Love you, Sarah.
I heart you too, Michael.
All right. But yeah, Feels Good Man is actually a documentary about Pepe the Frog, which got appropriated by white nationalists.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, so that one's an interesting watch. I'm thinking of Ending Things is the newest Charlie Kaufman movie. Muha's called dibs on those two. Robin's Wish, which movie I personally want to see, is a documentary about Robin Williams.
Oh, I would definitely be down for that.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised you didn't jump on that when I put it up the list.
I'm trying to figure out if I'm emotionally ready for it.
I didn't know what it was about. Granted, I haven't done much research into many new film titles this year.
Fair enough. The last one, not really high priority, is The Life of Ivan, which is the Disney Plus movie about the talking gorilla.
That's a hard pass for me.
My sister said it was cute, but she wasn't impressed.
I already talked about The Tax Collector with you. I'm going to pass on the 8 movie.
I've heard it's better, for what it's worth, but as we've established earlier, it's not exactly a high bar.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I think that like The New Mutants and I think The Personal History of David Copperfield is playing at a drive-in. I
actually went to my first drive-in earlier this week and saw New Mutants. So.
How bad is it?
Wait, is it a movie or is it a show?
It's a
movie.
Oh shit.
Okay. A lot of YouTube movie reviewers that I respect and subscribe to have said that it's a movie, it exists, and they find it kind of boring. I liked it a little bit more than that. Yes, there are a lot of cliches in it, but it's better than X3, so I will.
Again, that's a low bar.
Yes, but
X3 was okay.
I liked
X3.
my history with seeing the X-Men movies were I saw the first one, I saw X2, I saw X3, and didn't see any others for years. I saw Logan in 2017, and actually a month or two ago, I saw First Class and Days of Future Past.
That was my favorite.
For the first time with Evan, because we were house sitting for his parents, and they have on demand. So
nice.
Yes. So I finally did did see those. So so it's not as good as the best in the series, but it's not as bad as the worst. So I'd put it in the middle.
I know the creator hated it.
How what?
I know the original creator of the New Mutants comics fucking hated it.
Okay.
Oh, damn. All right.
That's interesting because from what I heard, the director was a fan of the original comics.
Not according to
Shyamalan was a
creator.
fan of Last Airbender, and yeah.
Point.
For one thing, they turned the Brazilian character white.
Oh.
Okay.
And they spelled his name wrong in the credits.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah. So
That I did not know. I just kind of went into it thinking that I wanted to see it in a theater. Well, technically in my friend Joker's car, but I wanted to support it because it's had a long road to release.
that it had. I haven't decided how. That's not true. It's like we haven't really done any drive-in movies yet. I'm mostly doing that on a volunteer basis because I know of the, I don't know what's the risk involved with going outside to see movies nowadays. That's why we're not doing Tenet.
Okay.
Just well, one, it's not. We don't have any theaters in the area that's playing it,
Yeah.
so it's like we have a choice.
But you do have the a drive-in movie. That's actually where I went to see.
Well, yeah, but they're not playing Tenet.
New Mutants was the drive-in in San Jose.
Well, Tenet's only playing in theaters because Christopher Nolan would not accept anything else. And
Fucking asshole.
Live fucking movie, and that's like on general principles. Like I'll watch it on Blu-ray when it comes out, man. I'm not gonna fucking like support that.
From the little bit that I've heard, again, another YouTube reviewer that I subscribe to said that it is the most Christopher Nolan movie of all the Christopher Nolan movies that you could possibly get.
So no one's gonna know what the fuck is happening. Good to know.
Yes.
All right.
I think now we're just kind of just shooting the shit. So we'll catch up on any of those movies in the near future whenever we can. Meantime, also big important thing, the newest editorial for I Kill Giants is out on Patreon right now. It is going to be released publicly on Monday, so please consider supporting us and throwing a few bucks our way. It's only, I think I put like $3 entry fee on that one, so please check that out. It is my most personal one to date. I cried while I was writing it, so please check that out. Very near and dear to my heart. And yeah, that was it. So thank you guys for watching. See y'all later.
All right.